Hola, and welcome to Word to Your Mama. Word to Your Mama is a podcast about the life of Latina mama, that's me, and the lives of my amazing multicultural tribe, a celebration of shared experiences navigating this dynamic world. There will be special guests, mad laughs, and absolutely no BS. Segments by the Supernatural Bear, that's my little man, he's 10, going on 40, but other than that, this podcast will be explicit. Please believe it. And why do I have such a wide range of people as guests on this show? It's because I come from the music, art, and Web3 industries. Episodes come out every Monday, and we are part of the Latina Podcasters Network. Today's convo for episode 120 is with Maria Wren. She's a Latina co-founder and CEO of Smart Education, and she is also a NASA Solar System Ambassador. So if you're new here, my tribe is dope. So if you're new here, you're going to find out. If you've been here for a while, you already know. In this episode, Maria talks about how, as a Latina, she discusses why she became a STEAM education youth advocate, why creating safe spaces for LGBTQAI plus youth is important, reinventing her life since the passing of her husband, who we call Mr. Chris, how therapy has helped her move through the grief, and so much more. So a couple of things. Let me just warn you, there will be tears. You've heard them on here before. There will be tears. I surprised Maria with, kind messages from 2 of her 3 children. I didn't get one in time, so I wanted to read what her oldest, her daughter, wrote before we get into the episode. She says, "My mom has always been my number one supporter. I have so many fun memories with her as a child, and our adventures still continue. I wouldn't be the woman I am without her, and I hope I can be a mom just like her when I have my own children. Love you, Mom." Super sweet. So the reason that there's tears, you'll find out during the questions and comments from the audience section. But I didn't want to move forward without also saying a couple of things. I thank Miss Maria and her family in this episode, but I wanted to do it right up front right here as well. The Supernatural Bear, as you could tell, if you've heard this before, if you heard this show before, he's advanced. I don't just say he's 10 going on 40 just because he's advanced. And he loves STEAM. So, he's taken all the classes, all the workshops, everything. And you'll hear all about it during the Supernatural Bear segment, after her segment. And, we've been wanting to do this episode for such a long time, but life happened, schedules and stuff. And then life really happened with the passing of Mr. Chris. And, Mr. Chris, in the short amount of time that we were honored to be able to spend with him, I could see, he's one of those quiet types, but very observant. But what we could tell is that he was happy and that he loves Miss Maria and loves his family with his 3 kids. And we will forever be grateful to Mr. Chris because, we live on Cahuilla land, right here in the desert from the Cahuilla peoples. And he worked for Lake Cahuilla and he took us there. So he was the first person to show the Supernatural Bear how to fish. Took him and their youngest. I was there in the background watching, hilarious, because I think the first thing that they caught was like a leaf or like a palm tree or something. But then they caught fish. It was exciting, and it was such a great window to get some insight into Mr. Chris, to see him in that capacity, just how, patient he was and how he was just showing them with action and, it's just like, he's like this calming presence. So in the short amount of time that we knew him, we felt the loss. And so as you can imagine, losing your husband, the father to your children, someone that you thought you were going to spend your entire life with, Miss Maria's been through a lot, and she is one of the strongest people that I know. And like we mentioned in the episode, it was a given she was going to make it to the other side. But what I have seen, what I have witnessed is that she put things in place. She made sure that not only did she make it to the other side, but she was going to make sure that everyone made it as well, and that she had the best possible tools and skills in place to maybe get there quicker, who's to say, but to get there in quote unquote whatever the right way is for her and her family and her life. So yes, this is a very special episode with laughs and tears, but let's get into this. Don't forget, after that is Supernatural Bear Corner and then an outro. So muchísimas gracias to Miss Maria and the family. Maria. Maria.
Maria del Refugio.
I'm going to call you Maria because that's how I talk to you. And it's natural like that. Muchísimas gracias for being here. It's been a long time coming, and I'm so happy that it's finally happening. And I wanted to start off the way I start off all the podcasts, interviews, convos. How are you doing? ¿Cómo estás?
Today I'm pretty good. It's kind of been a week of getting back into some things. This is the second time in a week I've worn a full face of makeup. So that's kind of new these days. That doesn't happen on a regular basis anymore. But I had a great event this weekend that I went to, and it was the first of one of those types of events that I've done since pre-pandemic times. And so, it was good. It was good to do that again. And so, yeah, I'm good.
How did it feel being, it was like tell the people what it was. It was kind of like a gala type of situation.
Right. So the bulk of my work happens at my site, which is located at the Palm Springs Air Museum. And the museum itself has a gala every year where they raise a lot of the money that they need for their own operations. So this past Saturday was their gala, and I was there because I was part of the video that they showed during the gala to kind of show people what it is that happens there, and, tell them a little bit about where their money goes when they donate to the museum. So it was me and my vice president, Callista, there representing Smart Education, plus 800 of our closest friends. Yes.
And you look beautiful. And so was that, you said it was the first time, like in a long time, going to that type of event, wearing makeup and dressing up. Was that like, what is this?
Yes. I forgot how long it takes to get ready for an event like that. Luckily, I did have the foresight to plan out, what time I needed to start getting ready at and everything. But yeah, it was a lot of moments of realizing, oh yeah, this is what life was like for me pre-pandemic. And Callista, who was my +1 for the evening, she and I had a lot of moments of realizing, this isn't normal life for most people.
Pandemic or no pandemic, is not normal life.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was a beautiful event. Beautiful. I can't even describe all of the decorations, the whole settings. It was just beautiful. But also realizing that I was at an event where tickets for the people who had to pay or $475 per person. Yeah. So if you're there with your date, your, spouse, your whoever, it's $950 to walk in the door.
Yeah. But it all goes for a good cause.
It does. It does.
So tell the people what exactly smart education is.
Wow. So in a nutshell, it is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing STEAM education programs for youth. That's the tagline, the short version. The longer version is that 12, 13 years ago, a friend of mine and we were two moms at an elementary school wanting to provide more enrichment programs for our own children. And we're fortunate enough to have the support of the principal at their elementary school, who let us use some of the school funds to purchase robotics equipment for third, fourth, and fifth graders. And having that experience with not only our own children, but the other children that participated, we realized that it was something that needed to be done. And after having conversation after conversation about somebody should do this, we finally had the conversation of we should do this. And it grew from there to encompass all sorts of different programs within the umbrella of STEAM education.
Nice. Yes, you would do a way better job of explaining it than I would ever. So, you're the co-founder and CEO of Smart Education. You're also a NASA Solar System Ambassador. You told us how got started, but why STEAM and how important is representation in this field?
So STEAM happened kind of as an add-on. We started with robotics because that was just the thing that we started with. It was what was available for youth of our children's ages. And that was the bulk of our focus for several years. But eventually, we did expand to include more broad-based engineering, not just robotics. And then we started to include things that had to do with programming also that were not specifically robotics. And then, I just kept coming back to this thought of, I would really love to show kids how amazing science can be. You probably remember from your days in school and a lot of kids in school, science is a thing that they do once a week when they're in elementary school. And a lot of times it's more along the lines of textbook or worksheets or videos. And by the time kids get to middle school, science is boring. It's not relevant to their lives, and they either lose interest in it or, even worse, actively dislike it. So I wanted to really show kids that science is fun, science is relevant, and that it's really something that they can enjoy. And we started doing things related more specifically to science. And then, the computer stuff, that also kind of grew because we went from, just a few different types of programming stuff to all different types of programming stuff. Digital media, that was game design, computer animation. But then from there, we branched out to other forms of digital media that did not involve programming. And this is sort of where we started with the A in STEAM, because a lot of people hear A for arts and, they kind of makes you think, are you teaching kids how to paint? Are you bringing in pottery wheels? No, we're not. But there is a lot of different art forms out there that are either more directly related to tech kind of stuff, things that you do on your computer. But then there is also the way that you can incorporate your more traditional kinds of arts, whether it is painting or using clay or other types of medium, to reinforce what you've learned about different science topics. So that might be using a mixed media type of approach to create their own unique rendering of a concept that they learned. I had kids once learn all about Cassini, which crashed into Saturn. Gosh, years and years ago, we learned all about that. And then I had them do their own picture of it. And, so we've done like crayon resist kind of stuff. We've done all different types of mediums. But then there's also what I refer to as industrial arts, which has more to do with the maker movement, learning how to make things on your own. That might include soldering, it might include welding, it might include things that kind of venture into the fabrication areas. We're not necessarily teaching kids how to cut and bend steel, but we are kind of touching on those things in mediums that are more accessible to youth. So it just, it started as two moms wanting to have something meaningful and enriching for their kids. And it just grew and grew and grew little by little.
So, the topic of representation, I think it also will help to let people know, like, where were you born and raised?
So I am born and raised in a very interesting little area of the world. Generally referred to as the Coachella Valley, but a lot of people know it as Palm Springs or Greater Palm Springs, right?
Such a lie.
I was born in the city of Indio, so long ago that I was born at the Indio Community Hospital, which does not exist anymore. Yeah. And I grew up in the city of Palm Desert, which is, 2 towns over from Indio. In the area, the Coachella Valley really goes from one extreme to the other in every possible demographic you could list. And through various avenues, I have had connections with all ends of the spectrum in all of those different demographics. So whether we're talking about issues of wealth, issues of race, issues of what kinds of advantages or disadvantages you have based on where you happen to live, what school you happen to go to, who your friends happen to be. It's a very, very interesting dynamic that we have here. And that has shaped a lot of who I am today. There is something in me that recognizes when something is missing and is just innately driven to try to make that right or try to make it available, try to make it better. And specifically for our youth, not that I don't care about adults, but, youth are my driving passion. I consider myself first and foremost a youth advocate. I just happen to do it through an avenue that is STEAM focused.
Nice. So, just a little background on how I know you is because of your program. So, the Supernatural Bear and his father and I, we moved out here to the Coachella Valley, like end of maybe summer of 2018. And I was looking, because he loves anything STEAM. And I was looking for something in the valley. There was like nothing. Then I found your thing, but he had to be 6. This is how long ago it is, kids, because he's the Supernatural Bear is 10. He had to be 6, but I was like, if they meet this kid, like they'll let him, right? And so I remember I went to like the charter school fair thing. You had a booth. I first met Penny. And then she was like, oh, yeah, we totally hit it off. And she's like, come by, meet Maria, da-da-da-da. And then I met. So the Supernatural Bear has been going to your program, your camps. I mean, the value that you provide to the Coachella Valley, which, you know, it's not Greater Palm Springs, kids. Like, it's Palm Springs and all these other cities. Like, you know, where Coachella happens, which is actually not Coachella, it's actually La Quinta. It's 45 minutes. It's like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So anyways, you provide so much value, and the time that we've had here, especially because, you know, 2.5, 3 years of that time, short amount of time has been a pandemic. It's been a lifesaver, you know, because we homeschool, as many people know, we homeschool, and, you know, something that he loves, and you provide a safe space. You provide the space that you have. I'll have photos of this amazing classroom setting. It's inspiring. Like, even for me, like when I go in there, I was like, oh yeah, I want to learn all this. I want to touch all the things. You know what I mean? And then not only that, you do, you know, mobile stuff. You go out to the people, and I think that's what's important, right? Because, as you know, and a lot of people that are listening know, you know, it's one thing to talk about diversity, inclusion, da-da-da-da-da. It's another thing to really understand what is happening and understand your community and what they need. Not everyone's going to be able to come and make it to your classroom. So what do? You provide those opportunities directly to them in different ways.
For sure. And, you know, I want to touch on something you said about making it a safe space. And I pride myself on being welcoming to, you know, just about anybody. I mean, there are few instances where I'm just like, okay, no, that's not okay. And all of them have to do with adults, frankly. Kids are awesome. Kids are great. Kids are better human beings than adults will ever hope to be. But, you know, a lot of the population here, it does tend to skew somewhat conservative.
Please believe it.
You know, California is so widely known for being a liberal state, but, you know, the Coachella Valley is sort of this interesting little dot of purple in the blue carpet that is California. And, you know, most of the time, I feel like our kids walk into situations not knowing whether or not they're going to be welcomed, and for any number of reasons. And that really hits personally, because I remember the first time that I experienced not being welcomed for who I was as a child. And, you know, at the time, I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what to think of it. I didn't understand. But I remember being young, probably first or second grade, and having a friend of mine talking about her birthday party, and me saying something about how, you know, I wanted to come. And she said, you can't come to my birthday party because my uncle's going to be there and he doesn't like Mexicans.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, you know, that was such a pivotal moment in my life. I had no idea how pivotal that moment was until really just within the last few years. Even as an adult, if I would think about that moment for any reason, I didn't quite understand how impactful that moment was. And I knew that I never wanted any child to feel like that for any reason. And, over the last several years, we've had a lot more awareness over what our LGBTQ plus youth are facing day in, day out, at home, at school, in their communities. And, that's something else that really just makes my heart hurt because I think about kids I know who are going through things like that. And I've always, always welcomed them in whatever shape or form they want to walk in. I've had students who have come to me as first and second graders, and I know what they themselves still don't know. And I talk to the other students because sometimes the other students might say something about oh, so-and-so wants to be a girl. And the way they say it, I can tell, they're not intending to be mean or hurtful, but it is. It still is. And so I take those opportunities to talk to the kids about, everybody has the right to make their own choices. And, we sometimes agree, we sometimes don't, but we still have to be kind and respectful to each other. I had a student who, when she was in, I believe, 5th grade, decided she was going to share with her family that she no longer wanted to be a she. She wanted to be he. And it was something that the family situation didn't quite understand, but they were willing to try and understand and accept him. And I could still tell that the family unit and he specifically needed a little bit more encouragement, needed a little bit more of a feeling of, this is okay. And so one day he came because he had already moved on to middle school and came back and was a volunteer in one of my programs. And so when I had him introduce himself to the kids, he used the name that he was born with. And so, and it was fine. Whatever. Their choice. But afterwards, when the other students were, when the students were at break and, playing out in the recess area, I pulled them aside and I said, "Hey, I was surprised that you introduced yourself as this. I assumed you would use, your current name that you're using," because he did pick a different name. And he said, "Well, I wasn't sure how you would feel about it." I said, "Honey," "this place is for you." I said, "I have done everything I have to make this place a safe and welcoming environment where you know that you are welcomed and you are loved."
Yes. And that's true. That's so true. And I feel like, us being 2 women, being Latinas, being brown Latinas, right? And I was, I'm sure, especially when we're little, because we're outdoors all the time, we were like darker. And having those experiences that that was 2nd grade, right, for you, right? Such a long time ago. Those pivotal moments, there was a fork in a road was made for you, right? For all of us that have faced all of this, is either that's going to initiate and be the catalyst for self-hate and always try to simulate and hate yourself so you hate others that look like you and da-da-da-da-da. Or it can do what it did for you and what I feel like it's done for me as well, right? I never want anyone to feel that way. I always want to make it a safe space. And I think another reason why you and I get along so well is because we're doers. right?
Mm-hmm.
We're doers. Like if it's possible, we're like, well, that doesn't exist. Well, let's just make it happen. We figure it
Right.
out,
Yeah.
let's make it happen. So I love that. So another question before we get into the questions and comments from the audience, which I'm sure you're super excited about.
You have questions from audiences?
Questions and comments from the audience. Yes, I do.
I'm going to guess there are a couple of them from the Bears, but sorry, go ahead.
How do you're a mother and you're an entrepreneur, and you take care of community, but you also, have to take care of, how do you balance it all? What are some tips for us out there? Your face, you're like,
Ooh. Balance is a strong word. It's several different key indicators for me. The first thing is always to consider how much what I'm doing is going to affect my 10-year-old. He is the most important thing in my life, and everything I do revolves around whether or not it's going to benefit or at least not negatively impact him. So it literally drives everything from how many programs do I run outside of school hours when I have to consider him, whether he goes with me or whether I ask a family member to watch him, all of that. And some of it is also, of course, how is it going to affect me physically, mentally, emotionally, all the different ways. And I will say that it is a little bit different nowadays. I did have a point in my life where I was trying to do so much, all good things, by the way, things that I loved, things that were meaningful, things that were impactful, but it was a lot. And I started to have some anxiety attacks, some panic attacks. And you know this story, how I didn't realize what was going on. And finally the light bulb went off and I realized, or rather the light bulb came on, I guess. And how I had to step back from a lot of what I had been doing. And then, coincidentally, the pandemic hit and I stopped doing everything. But, that time spent considering what I was doing to myself, I really got some clarity. But I think what has really sharpened my clarity, if that makes sense, has been having to reinvent my life over this past year and a half, since my husband passed away. There are still many things that I love, things that I feel are important and necessary, but I cannot give my time to. And that is something that has really, really come into play over the last 3 months, I would say. Because, my husband passed away almost a year and a half ago. And for that first year and 2 months, I was just in recovery, in trying to survive, in just getting through day by day. And so it wasn't until these last 2-3 months that I've really been anywhere near a spot where I could start to consider, okay, what am I going to start doing again besides just the basics of having to function to make life happen. So it's a lot clearer for me when I come across an opportunity, when I get an invitation, when somebody asks me if I want to be a part of something. It's a lot easier. It's a lot clearer for me to say yes and feel good about it, but more importantly, to say no and feel good about it.
That's important. And, as if this is something you want to touch upon, if not, we could totally skip over it. But, a lot of things that come up just organically when I have convos is mental health, right? Therapy, the support that brings. How vital, in losing your husband and having to deal with that, being a mom, having multiple children, but also having a small child. How important was that mental health therapy to help you during this, to process this? Ayuda a tus hijos y estudiantes a llegar más lejos. Aprende más sobre la beca nacional S.T.E.A.M de McDonald's. Desde 1985, McDonald's ha otorgado más de $33 millones en becas. Gánate una beca de hasta $100,000. McDonald's está dando $500,000 en becas este año. Puedes ganar una de 30 becas. Hoy día, es importante seguir adelante y hacer más. A ayudar a estudiantes hispanos a hacer más que las generaciones anteriores. Hacer más de lo que se creen capaz. Hacer más de lo que pensaban que era posible. Por sí mismos, por su gente, por su cultura, por un mejor futuro. Para más información sobre la beca nacional S.T.E.A.M de McDonald's, visita mcdonalds.com/S.T.E.A.M. Aprende más. Do you want to support original content that supports diverse voices? Why not support Word to Your Mama? You're listening to it right now. Become a patron. Head over to patreon.com/WTYM. There are 4 patron levels to choose from, including Good Looking Out, I'm Down, Hell Yeah, and Please Believe It. Benefits include patron shoutouts, exclusive patron-only content, and so much more. Head on over to patreon.com/WTYM to take your support to the next level. Gracias.
I cannot overstate how important. I am unbelievably fortunate to have a strong support network. My family is here local. My husband's family is here local. And some of the most amazing people that, were friends and became family, yourself and your bears amongst that cream of the crop of humanity.
Oh.
But even having all of that in my corner, having someone to go and talk to on a regular basis, someone who is removed from the situation, gives me a freedom that I could not find any other way.
Yeah.
When you go in and you talk to a therapist, a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, whatever the title happens to be for that professional who is there for no other reason than to help you, it gives you freedom to express even some of the thoughts that you feel like, I'm a terrible person for thinking this.
Yeah.
And even more terrible for saying it out loud. And I will say without a doubt, I could have survived this without Tori is her name. And I could have eventually started to rebuild a life for myself, but I would not have been able to do it as well as I mean, I won't say easily because it's not easy in any sense, but you know, having her there to talk me down off a ledge sometimes, to remind me that eventually I will be okay, to reassure me that I am doing a good job as a mother of a young person, to guide me in some of the questions and concerns that I've had for myself as a mother, for myself as a member of this community. It is a way for me to be able to be the best version of myself that I can be at this time. And I think she's given me what nobody else could give me because, you know, for all the people that I have in my life that want to love me and support me and help me, you know, they all have their own lives to handle. They also are experiencing their own grief. They may not necessarily be able to see things with a perspective of somebody who isn't in the situation. And that's been incredible, even beyond my grief and having lost my husband. I mean, it's also ventured into conversations about, you know, just other things that have come up, my relationship with my mother, my changing views on who I am as a person, aside from being a mother, being a wife, and being, you know, somebody in the community that is, you know, used to doing the things. And suddenly everything stopped. And now not knowing how many of those things do I want to be doing again? So, you know, I think most of us, we start going to therapy for one thing, and before we know it, we're talking about this, that, and the other thing
and
too.
It always goes back to childhood. It always goes back to that. Always. And, you know, and I think it's interesting, like, and thank you so much for even talking about this and being so honest, you know, and your candor and everything, because I think that's very important. You know, you could have the best support system in the whole wide world, but to have, you know, you provide a safe space for so many people. This was your safe space. Tori provided that safe space. My therapist provides me my safe space, you know, and especially as mothers, because like there's a lot of things that we think about that we're like, am I an awful person? Am I a terrible person? You know, and so much, you've gone through so much, and you are correct. You're so strong. You would survive. You would be here and you would survive. But the change that I've seen you go through, you know, I feel that the therapy that, you know, you got it, and you got it kind of like almost immediately. And I feel like that was such a gift, you know, to you and your family. So thank you so much for speaking on that. And, you know, I also, before I forget, I wanted to mention, and it's funny what you, when we're checking stuff and what you were showing me, I was like, oh, that's funny, because I made a note, and because I wanted to say, you know, you're a doer, and the example of this, and I wanted to, I've told you, I've thanked you already, but I want to thank you on this, platform and say muchísimas gracias for your crazy amount of help for our first Hola Metaverso that we had in LA last April. I mean, you came in and you were like, da, da, da. Like you and I are the same. Like if we go, it's not even our event or, we're not even there for that purpose. It's like production hats. What do we got to do? What could, this could be better. Da, 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 da. But you specifically came to support and you went above and beyond and you saved us. Like you saved us. That front door situation, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. That was amazing. So muchísimas gracias for that. That showed me in practice, in action that you are a doer and you are about your words. So thank you so much.
Well, and I know I've said this to you in some manner. I don't know if it was verbal or via text or I don't know, maybe commenting on some social media post, but I was so grateful to have the opportunity to support you.
Thank you.
For a number of reasons. One, like you're fucking badass. Oh. You are one of the most badass women I have ever known in my 45 years of life. So to be able to do something that supports you in what you're doing, I mean, honestly, it could have been like, I don't know, come help me throw a birthday party for, I don't know, my neighbor's pet turtle. And I would have been like, I'm there. I don't know if your neighbor has a pet turtle or not.
I don't know my neighbors.
I'm guessing you probably would not throw a birthday party for your neighbor's pet turtle anyways. But just to be able to do something to support you, I was down from the minute you said, hey. But also, it was really exciting from a selfish standpoint. It was really excited to have the opportunity to be involved in an event like that. I had no clue what was going to be talked about. I was like, Web3, how many webs are there? But I was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. I want to be there for it. I want to be a part of it. And so that was exciting. But also, to be part of that space where there were so many people coming together for the purpose of learning and building community, that's the type of event I'm always drawn to. Do I like making money? Yes, it's nice, but nothing I do is ever motivated by financial gains. And so, what Hola Metaverso was and is and will continue to be, I feel is going to be more profound than we can possibly imagine at this point.
Wow.
And on a more personal level, I was so grateful for the opportunity to support you personally. After everything that you have supported me through over the last however many years it's been now. I mean, everything from, helping me with the redesign of Smart Education's logo to encouraging me whenever I mention like, oh, hey, I was thinking about doing this type of program for kids. Yes, that sounds great. We'll be there. To, getting each other through all of a sudden being in lockdown and not being able to see other humans for months on end, to how much you and the boys supported me and my boy when we lost Chris. Yeah. Our boys talk to each other probably more than they talk to us.
For reals.
whether it's IRL or via the electronic means. they share so much with each other. It's really been one of the things that has given me some peace of mind, is to know that my 10-year-old has your 10-year-old to talk with. And, they're both such interesting little characters. I don't know that my 10-year-old could have had that with any other 10-year-old.
Same. That we remember when we first were like, they separated birth? Like, what is happening here? Like, they're the same. And then I'll like text you about, tears because of writing sentences. And you're like, same thing, like same thing. But thank you, Maria. This is like, I don't know what to do with all this goodness that you're tossing me. I feel honored because I feel that way about you. I feel like, whoa, like my tribe is amazing. My tribe is dope. Like, I have amazing women that are so inspiring and so thank you so much. And I just wanted, before we go into the questions and comments from the audience, I just want to say I laugh every time because last April, it was 2021, and we go in, drive into LA. We're like, yeah, we're wearing a mask. We're not going to do the Latino hugs, abrazos and cheek besos on the cheek and none of that. We're going to be safe. This because it was the first for both of us, the first time we were going to be around more than 1, 2, 3 people and people that we knew. And it was like a lot. And so I remember we were like, and I was like, oh, remember at the end, we were driving back to Premiere, to where we were staying. And we're like, yeah, this is it. We got it.
We got it.
It was a lot of hugs. Everything we said we were going to do, it all happened. You know what I mean?
It all those safety precautions just
out the window, poof. Man. It was Latino besos, brazos all over the place. Hilarious. I think about it all the time. And we're like, oh, this is it. We got it. Luckily, knock on wood, we didn't get it. Okay. So are you ready? Let's get into the questions and comments from the audience. Okay. The first one.
Okay.
Would it enrage you if I said that the Eagles were goated and the 49ers suck?
Wait. You kind of...
Oh, did I break up a little bit?
Froze for a second there. I heard, would it enrage you? And then nothing. Oh. And then the 49ers suck. So I'm already pre-enraged. I'm pre-enraged right now. I don't know what else you said, but I'm halfway there.
I will reread it. Would it enrage you if I said that the Eagles were goated and the 49ers sucked? And this is it says, note to my mom, joke, but tell Mrs. Maria after a reaction. And that is from the Supernatural Bear.
Well, I would definitely have some strong feelings about it. Unlike the stereotypical football fan that, shit talks every other team out there, I don't necessarily shit talk other teams. However, facts are facts. There was several key unexpected factors that led to the Eagles appearing in the Super Bowl. So yeah, there would be some feelings.
Yeah, there'd be some feelings. He's like, let me do it as a joke. Okay, the next one. Mom, you have truly made an impact on our community that words cannot describe. Thank you for being an example of who someone can always strive to be like. And that is from your middle child, Diego.
Aww.
How cute is that? Got some good kids. I tried to get all 3, but I was able to get 2. And I'm going to try to read this. Or not.
I'm like, who's missing?
Okay, so it says, I'm going to try to read it. It says, my mom is loving. Sometimes she can be a lot, but never to me and my family. She generally is nice. Generally is nice, But when she's mad, she's mad. I very much love her. She has always been there for me. We've both been through a lot. We have great laughs. She is amazing. And that is by your youngest, said 10-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm actually speechless.
Yeah. They love you. They know how amazing you are, Maria. We all know how amazing you are. So, you know, when Mateo sent that, I was crying, and the robot bear didn't understand. And I was like, shit, I'm going to cry when I read this shit. And, but it's a beautiful thing. It's so beautiful. You know? And I just wanted to provide, you know, a nice surprise. And, you know, I didn't anticipate it was going to be tears.
Yeah, I know.
Woo! But
that was not on my bingo card.
Yeah. Special.
I think I need those printed and framed.
Yes.
Sometimes she's a lot.
I like how there was, like, you know, some brevity, some levity there, you know, and then but when she and you're not nice, you're generally nice. Generally nice, but when she's mad, she's mad. What's funny, Maria? What is so funny is that statement, I could totally see the supernatural bear saying about me, because we're the same. They say we talk too much. They say we talk too loud. And then when we get together and when I go pick them up and stuff, then, you know, they love it because you and I get talking, so they know they get like extra time to play.
Right.
They're like, I see them. They go, come on, let's go back in the room. And then they just, oh my God, hilarious. Okay.
They are hilarious.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. So that was your youngest. Okay. So let's go and finish this off. How we finish off all convos, the not so rapid fire questions, the AKA slow as hell questions. Are you ready, Maria?
I'm as ready as I'm going to get.
3 words to describe yourself.
Do they have to be individual words, or can it be 3 phrases?
It could be 3 phrases. It could be generally nice.
Generally nice. A lot. But not to everybody. You know, I mean, mother, for sure, is number 1. I would say, you know, youth advocate has to be up there. I would say the third one has to be incredibly amazed with the life I've had.
Yeah.
Amazed. For all the highs and lows of these 45 years of life, there is much that I have had to be grateful for.
Yeah.
So amazed.
I love that. I love that a lot. Okay, so what's the best piece of advice you've received?
Ooh. Hmm. Gosh, it's there is a lot, but I've heard it in different ways and from different people. Um, but I would have to say being encouraged to have faith in myself. That has come in many different forms from many different people. But I think whenever I've had things that I've doubted myself on whether I'm capable of accomplishing, because I don't know if I'm skilled enough, knowledgeable enough. Do I have the capacity to take this other thing on? Are they going to like me? All those different sorts of doubts, but also in the, how am I going to overcome this setback? In the, how am I going to get through this challenge? Being reminded that I am stronger than I realize. I think that's probably been the one thing that keeps me going through a lot. I'm going to quote my father-in-law on this one. One day, not long after Chris had passed, and I was having those feelings of, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to get through this. He looked me square in the eye and he said to me, "You're a lot stronger than you realize." And then he followed it up with, "You are one tough broad." So that's it right there. Best advice. You are one tough broad.
I love that. So
yes.
This next question I ask everybody, but I'm super excited because I have a feeling that we're going to be able to add a song of a genre to maybe the playlist that we haven't yet. Is what is your go-to song to get you hyped when you need it?
Oh, wow.
I feel like I can go two different artists. So I'm anticipating which of the two.
I'm going to say all time because, it varies depending on like the mood, the event, the, who am I currently into? Who's got the hot hits out? Yep. But if I had one song that spans various moods, spans various types of events that I'm like, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to do, it's going to have to be Luke Bryan's Country Girl. Yes, I knew. Is that what you were thinking?
I was like, is this going to be the first country song that I'm adding to the play? Okay, this is amazing. So, as always, there'll be a link in the show notes to the Word to Your Mama guest hype list. I hype song list. I always mess up the title, but you know what I'm talking about. So everyone's songs are going to be there. And this will be there, and it'll be moved up to the top. And I believe, if memory serves, this is our first country artist on there. So this is exciting because we have everything. Everything you could think of, we have it. Now we got country. Okay, final question. Right. What will be your legacy?
I mean, it's my kids. In so many different ways. I have always known that my kids were going to change the world. I didn't know how. I didn't have any plans on, this one's going to be this and this one's going to be that. And I had no idea. But I knew that my children were going to make the world a better place. And I knew that it was my job to be the best mother I could for them. And, you know, I've gotten 2 out of 3 to adulthood. And, you know, I know a lot of parents out there want their kids to have a career that's going to make them a lot of money. And some parents want their kids to have a career that's going to bring them fame, notoriety, all of that. I just wanted my children to grow up to be good people who make a difference in their world. And they're both doing that in their own ways. Yes. You know, one of them being a teacher, the other one working at the state capitol in government. Those are 2 very different career paths. And, you know, they're both such great human beings. And they're both so much more than I ever was at their respective ages. You know, when I look back to being 23 and 26, I'm just, I not that I compare myself to them, but when I look at where I was and where they are, I'm amazed. And, you know, the 10-year-old, there are many times when I am amazed by the person he is at 10 years old. Yeah. At 10 years old. And, you know, I don't know what he's going to do in life. But I know it's going to have meaning. Yes. And it's going to have an impact because I can already see that he's that type of person. Yeah. So it's my children. My children are my legacy.
They're definitely your legacy. They definitely are who they are because they had amazing parents. But you know, moms spend a lot of time with the kids, and in most cases, not all the time, but in this case, they do. Mm-hmm. And I know it has a lot to do with you. And also, your legacy is what we discussed today. Your legacy is the safe spaces, the sparks of inspiration. You know, I know it in my bones that there's kids that maybe took a workshop once, maybe took a camp once, and maybe you won't see them again, but you sparked something in them that they're like, oh, I want to pursue this, or maybe I like this. I feel like you're like the host carrier of this inspiration in S.T.E.A.M, because we need more people that look like us. I just was listening or saw something recently that made a lot of sense, you know, especially with these new technologies that are coming out. You know, research is only going to reflect what the researchers, the scientists in those fields look like, because they are going to deal with their issues, their histories, their problems. So we need more people of color. We need more indigenous. We need more LGBTQAI plus in these fields, because then they can be the representative and make sure that these technologies reflect the world as it really is. So, muchísimas gracias to you, Maria. I usually call you Miss Maria because I'm always talking to Supernatural Bear. Even when I talk to Rock, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, Miss Maria. And we could have not survived the pandemic if it wasn't for you guys, you know. Because those park days, you know, being with people that aligned with us during such a scary time was invaluable. It was gold. And I know for a fucking fact that we wouldn't have survived. So, muchísimas gracias for everything you've done, for everything that you do, for being such an inspiration, for living, you know, in such a way that inspires all of us, Maria. Thank you for sharing your story on this. It's been a long time coming, but because you've gone through so much, we've taken this pause, and I feel like you were already going to provide value if you would have talked a year ago to a year and a half ago. But I feel like this is you're sharing your voice, your experience, and I feel there's going to be so many people that can relate. And maybe if they haven't gone through this, when they do, they're going to remember, oh, I remember hearing badass Maria over there. She can do it, and, and I can do it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And now, introducing
the Supernatural Bear Corner.
Supernatural Bear.
Hello, everyone. I am the Supernatural Bear, and today, we are talking about my personal favorite teacher. If any of my other teachers are listening to this, no offense to you guys. You guys are also amazing teachers. But, yeah. So, Miss Maria. She's nice. She's really nice. She's been my science teacher for about... how long now? Hold on. Mom? Okay, I'll take that as a no. 5 years. About 5 years. Yeah. And also, her son, Reddish, for all intents and purposes. I don't want to dox anyone. That would be bad. Her son, Reddish, is incredibly cool. What's going on, Reddish? What's happening, man? Anyway, yeah, Miss Maria's amazing. We've known them for a long time, and Reddish and I be just being chilling on Discord. He has Discord now, let's go! He and I have been chilling on Discord, and right after this, he and I are gonna get on a Discord call right now, so I'll tell him about this, and, yeah. So, anyway, that's been my SMB Corner, and I'll see you guys in the next podcast. Have fun, and, stay safe. Bye.
Shooby-doo. Yeah. There you have it, folks. Episode 120 of Word to Your Mama with Miss Maria Wren. Yeah, I told you tears. And I delivered. We delivered on the tears. She's an incredible person. Things happen for a reason. I came out here to the desert to heal. I know that to be true now, and you'll hear in another episode what the hell that means. And certain people put in our lives for certain reasons. And yeah, it really, really, I could not see us making it to the other side of the lockdown without them. And for the Supernatural Bear to have someone that he can be that close with, when you're so unique and you're at advanced level, to find someone that's like you, it's incredible. You guys know how that is when you have that, So yes, as you know, we're part of the Latina Podcasters Network. I think there's going to be, I just got back from a dinner in LA to meet the founder in person, Rita. She has an episode. And it's going to be good things, guys. Good things. So there should be some new things coming up soon that I'll be sharing with everybody. Super excited about that. And as always, you can go to our store to purchase anything. We have all kinds of things. You can leave us a review. That's free. Give us some stars. If you leave us a review, we will read it. I'll read it in one of the episodes. And then, you can buy us a whiskey buy us a coffee. You can become a patron, as you heard in the promo that we used this week. And, for free, another for free is tell your folks, tell your peeps, tell your friends. There's a lot of podcasts out there. I know this to be true. And now more and more, it's great to see that there's even more podcasts by people of color, more podcasts from Latinas. But I really feel, if you're listening to this, if you agree with me, tell your folks, tell your peeps, tell your friends. I really feel that this has a different voice. And so let's get this out to the people so they can find their tribe. Maybe they're in a place where they just moved and they haven't found their tribe yet. Well, they can find it here. So I appreciate all the support. And, if you want to email us, you want to whatever, hola@wordtoyourmama.com. And as always, we reap Word to Your Mama is owned and produced by Ritzy P. Intro beat produced by Nico Beats. If you want to know more, or you want to email us, you want to get the media kit, go head over to wordtoyourmama.com. Word to Your Mama is now part of the Latina Podcasters Network. And as always, Word to Your Mama is brought to you by RitzyPeriwinkle.com.